Hi, Kim Rayner here. Welcome to episode 21 of All About Spirits Life After Cancer. And today's episode is called Slowing the Freight Train of Cancer Stress. And each Monday at about 10 o'clock, each Monday morning at about 10 o'clock Central Time, I produce a show called All About Spirits Life After Cancer. And it is to help us when we are dealing with the curveballs that life throws us when we have a cancer diagnosis. That diagnosis impacts everything from our physical bodies to the way we wake up in the morning, to our relationships with ourselves and our relationships with other people, everything from work and spirit all the way down to our sex lives. And this show is designed to help you get the kind of support that I was looking for when I was first diagnosed and couldn't actually find. So hopefully something in this show will be helpful to you today. And again, today's episode is called Slowing the Freight Train of Cancer Stress. And anybody who's had a cancer diagnosis knows that it would be a gross understatement to say that this is stressful. It is so much more than just stressful. And I'm not here to talk to you about the impact of stress on your body. We hear lots of conversations about that. There's tons of research. There's all sorts of information that's available about that. And that's not what I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk to you about the idea that, yes, this is your body's response to danger. And I want to talk to you about the idea that there's some good kind of stresses that help motivate us. They keep us moving. Like if we're planning a party for someone or something like that, that kind of stress can be helpful. But that's not the stress in the long run that I really want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about the bad kind of stress. The stress that is what I call the blind side. It comes on all of a sudden, and it comes on when we get the diagnosis. We hear the words, "Oh, I am so sorry, but it is cancer." That's blindsiding. Sometimes that blindsiding stress comes on after we've had an interaction with someone where we end up maybe in some kind of a stressful conversation or an argument with them. Or that blindsiding stress can come on after we've witnessed an accident or we've had a close call when we're driving. So we know what that blindsiding kind of stress is. And that can be a reason for us to slip into a dark spiral down. There's also another kind of bad stress that I call the slow creep. It starts out as that nagging kind of feeling in the back of our mind, that nagging little irritation that we have where we have a thought about something, and that thought, we start pulling on that thought, and it gets bigger and bigger, and then it becomes more than just that nagging little thought. It becomes retelling the story. It becomes getting back into the emotions of the story and all of the negativity that are around the negative emotions of that story. Like, oh, it was the cancer diagnosis, and this is really bad, and I'm really scared, and all of the stuff that goes around those feelings. And that kind of stress crawls up our leg, kind of like a snake. You know, it just sort of slithers up our body, and it ends up in a chokehold around our throat. And it can stop us from doing all sorts of things in our life. It sometimes, when we're dealing with that kind of stress, we try to find ways to make it go away or to disengage from it. And, we do that in a lot of different ways. Sometimes we eat to make it go away, or, there are people who drink or do drugs to make those feelings go away. Sometimes we gamble or shop or get into the pattern of telling the story about what happened and how awful it is over and over and over again. And those things aren't very helpful to relieve the stress, and in most cases, they actually make the stress bigger or make it more. And I want to talk to you today about a couple of solutions that I know that help me when I get into that place. Because to think that you're never going to go into that place again is just a barefaced lie. You're human, and no matter what's going on in your life, you're going to experience stress. And there's a special kind of stress when we're going through cancer. Absolutely. But these tools and practices can really help you when you're going through any kind of stress. And the first thing that I want to just mention is I need to somehow put space between me and that runaway freight train of my emotions when I'm trying to navigate through the stressful process of this. And one of the ways that's pretty effective for me to be able to do this is to reframe the way that stress is impacting me, to reframe whatever it is that I'm stressful about. So let's say the incident is that I am waiting for the test results of my initial diagnosis, or I am perhaps waiting for my next doctor's appointment or the results of my follow-up CAT scan. Those events are absolutely stressful, and I am not here to tell you that they're not or to pretend that they're not, but to get stuck or trapped in the fear of that can be really unhelpful, and it's unhealthy. And when we think about the context of those emotions or those thoughts and feelings sending out little vibrations that are going to attract more of the same, I want to disengage from that. So the way that I do this is to take the event or whatever it is that I'm worried about or scared about, and to really take a look at it and say, well, what is the unhelpful thought that's going on around this? So in the case of my diagnosis or my test results, it would be something like, okay, they did find something that they're wanting to check into more. And my mind is saying, yeah, it's cancer, and yeah, this is terminal cancer. Those are the unhelpful thoughts. Those are the things that my mind is telling me that aren't necessarily the truth. When I can step in and interrupt that and do a reality check and say, okay, what do I really know about this? Well, I know that I've gone to the doctor, and I know that the doctor suspects that something is happening, but they don't necessarily know what's really going on. So for me to engage in all of the fear around that, my reality check is that's not the truth. We don't know that it's cancer yet, or we don't know what the results of the follow-up test is. So identifying those unhelpful or unhealthy thoughts is really helpful. And to do that, I do a reality check. And then reframing what I've identified as the unhealthy thoughts and putting it into a different frame. And what that would look like in this context is, yeah, they did find something that they're concerned about, or that they think might be a mass, or they think it might be cancer. But the truth is, they don't really know for sure. That's why they did the tests. So rather than going down the highway and believing that I am dying of whatever it is that might be going on, is the reframing to say, oh, they don't really know. That's why they're doing the test. That's why they're checking. So I'm going to allow them to have the time that they need for the tests to come through. And I'm going to do the next thing that's right in front of me to do. And the next right thing might be doing the dishes, or doing the laundry, or taking a shower, or going to work, or taking a nap. It's engaging. It's stopping the thought, the runaway thought, and saying, what's the next right thing for me to be doing? It might be brushing your teeth, or cleaning your bathroom, taking the dog for a walk. It's interrupting that thought process. And it doesn't just happen for us who are the survivors. It happens for caregivers too. Imagine being the caregiver and coming home from seeing the person you love in the hospital, and your mind starts playing with, wow, it was really hard to see them. I'm scared to death that they're not going to be here. Or what happens if? That would be a version of your unhealthy thoughts. If I'm going to go home, I think, you know what? I'm just going to go home and eat a pizza. Or I'm going to go home and do some shopping, some retail therapy, right? That's not necessarily helpful. That's not going to change the situation. So what do I do instead? Well, I look around the situation and I say, the truth is, I love them and they're in the hospital and I'm scared. But is eating or drinking or avoiding them or the situation going to help me? Is that going to do anything to make me feel better? No, that's the reality check. That's not going to do anything to make me feel better. So how do I reframe that? Well, I reframe it by looking at what's really going on here. And what's going on for me is I'm stressed. And stress under this situation is a normal response. I'm going to take a few minutes and I'm just going to feel the fear. And maybe I'm going to grab my journal and write about the things I'm afraid of. Or maybe I'm just going to sit and breathe for a little while and have the moment to feel instead of trying to run away from it. So that would be a way that I would reframe my stress. And then I would look at it and say, okay, so what's the next right thing for me to be doing? Maybe I need to feed the rest of the family. Maybe the dog needs to go for a walk. So it's interrupting that runaway mind, that runaway freight train. So that's one of the processes that I would do. Another process that I do, and I love this one, this comes from the book Ask and It Is Given by Esther Hicks and Abraham. And this process is called the 68-second process. And when we have a feeling or a thought or an emotion going on, and I've talked about this before, that the law of attraction says what I put out into the universe, it finds an equal vibration and it brings back more of the same. So if I am in the space of the runaway freight train and the mind racing and wandering, I'm going to be attracting more of that energy, and that's how that spiral keeps growing. We know scientifically and spiritually that what we focus on gets bigger. So the purpose of this process is to activate a vibration that's different than the runaway freight train. And to do that, if you can take 17 seconds and focus purely on what it is that you want, or the vibration of what it is that you want to be experiencing, it takes 17 seconds for a matching vibration to find you. And then if you can take that vibration and you can focus pure energy on what you want, or on the positive aspect of the thought of what you're trying to create, if you can do that for 68 seconds, that will eventually become your dominant thought. And your thoughts are your point of attraction. You get what you think about. And what you think about, as it expands, as you think about it more, it gets more powerful. It gets bigger. So what you think about and what you feel is actually what's going to be manifested in your life. So when we start to notice uncomfortable thoughts, it is uncomfortable for us. We start to play in the realm of those thoughts. And I'm going to just quickly do the 68-second process for you around a cancer diagnosis, to say, okay, I'm waiting for the biopsy. And the fear that's running in my mind is they did the biopsy and I'm waiting for the results. And I'm going to slip into the state of the 68-second process. And I'm going to talk about what I want from the place of already having it. And what that would look like for me is, okay, I'm really glad that I went to the doctor. I'm so grateful that my doctor is competent and knows what it is that they're doing, and that they know what they're looking for. They found this in my body, and they're doing these amazing scientific tests and research. And I feel really good about the fact that they're working on identifying what's going on. And as they do that, I love the fact that I don't feel sick today. I just feel fearful. Oh, wait, cancel. Fearful is sending out that energy. Cancel that. I feel good today. I'm outside. I love how it feels to be outside. I feel alive. I feel the wind blowing in my hair. And I know that whatever it is that's going on, is going to help me to change the perspective of my life. I'm going to feel better once I know for sure what it is that's going on. Actually, I already feel better now because I'm thinking about it and I'm talking about it and I'm dealing with it. And I love how it feels when I get up in the morning and I feel great. I love how it feels when I know what the next right thing is for me to be doing. I love knowing the direction that I should be taking. And I'm so grateful that there are people in my life that can help me with that. That would be an example of doing a 68-second process. And as I say those things out loud, I can feel my energy shift. I can feel my energy get into a more positive place. And when I get into that more positive place, I start creating from a more positive place. And one of the things that happens for us when we start playing in the realm of identifying or looking at our thoughts and seeing, oh my gosh, I have a negative thought going on. We start to look at that as if, oh no, I've just loaded the gun for bad self-destruction. And that's not the truth. Our thoughts are things, and yes, they send little rockets of desire out into the universe and attract back to us. But we have time and space between our thoughts and the actual manifestation of whatever it is that we're thinking about. So for us to step into the place that says, oh, I had a negative thought, let me take a couple of seconds and reframe that. We shift. We have the time to choose. We have the time to think. We have the time to have a different thought. We have the time to produce a different outcome. So my invitation to you is, when you notice yourself thinking a negative thought, try to look at the event for what it is. Try to identify the unhelpful thoughts that are going on. Do a reality check on it and reframe it into, okay, what is it that I'd like it to look like? What is it that I want this to occur? What is it that I want to change in this? Or try the 68-second process. Set your timer for 68 seconds. And from a positive place of I've already received what I'm hoping for, talk about it and see if your energy doesn't lift. And the last thing that I want to say is, and I mentioned it before, Einstein said, our mind can't solve a problem that it's created. So if you need somebody to help you with the process, know that that's normal. Don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help. Find the people who can help you and reach out to them. And as always, if you found something in this episode that was helpful for you, I invite you to share it with people who might be able to use the information. Like it on Facebook. And until we have a chance to talk next time, I hope that you treat life well and that life treats you well. Thank you for being here today. Make it a great week.